In 1965, the U.S. government quietly removed one of the most powerful food preservation ingredients ever discovered from public knowledge. Not because it was harmful, not because it was dangerous, but because it worked too well. 1 pound of this white powder, sitting on a shelf right now for under $3, can preserve 40 pounds of meat for up to 6 months. No refrigerator, no electricity, no special equipment, no monthly cost, nothing. Food corporations saw what was happening and they panicked, because the moment everyday families figured this out, they stopped buying, they stopped depending, and the industry lost billions. So they did what every powerful industry does when something threatens their profits. They buried it, they replaced it, and they made sure that within 1 generation nobody remembered it ever existed. My name is Marcus, and today I'm bringing it back. Before refrigerators existed, before freezers, before electricity ran through every home in America, families had to feed themselves through entire winters with no cold storage whatsoever. We're talking about temperatures that drop below 0 for months at a time. We're talking about no grocery stores, no delivery, no backup plan. And somehow, they did it. They fed large families. They survived harsh winters. They stored enough food to last until the next harvest. And they did it with ingredients that cost almost nothing. The knowledge of how they did it has been systematically removed from public education, from mainstream media, and from modern culture. Not by accident, by design. What I'm about to show you today is one of the core methods they used. It works just as well today as it did 200 years ago. And once you learn it, no one can ever take it from you. The ingredient is called Prague Powder No. 2. It is a curing salt, and it has been used by humans for food preservation for over 2,000 years. Roman soldiers carried cured meat on military campaigns that lasted months. Frontier families in 1800s America packed entire harvests of beef and pork with it before winter hit. Sailors crossing the Atlantic survived on cured meat, when fresh food was completely impossible to transport. This wasn't some niche technique used by a small group of people. This was standard survival knowledge passed down from generation to generation until the 1960s, when the refrigerator industry and large food corporations began systematically replacing traditional preservation methods with electric-dependent systems that kept consumers buying, kept consumers dependent, and kept consumers paying. Prague Powder No. 2 didn't disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because it worked too well for anyone to profit from it. Here's exactly what it is. Prague Powder No. 2 is a mixture of regular salt, sodium nitrite, and sodium nitrate. The nitrite and nitrate work together to stop bacterial growth inside the meat at a cellular level. They prevent the specific bacteria that cause botulism, spoilage, and food poisoning from ever developing in the first place. This is not a chemical trick. This is chemistry that humans discovered through thousands of years of observation and trial. The salt draws moisture out of the meat through a process called osmosis. Without moisture, bacteria cannot survive. Without bacteria, meat does not spoil. It is as simple and as permanent as that. Now here is how you use it. And I want you to follow these steps exactly because precision matters with curing. First, take any cut of meat you want to preserve. Beef works, pork works, chicken works, fish works. The method is the same regardless of the protein. Second, prepare your curing mixture. For every 5 pounds of meat, you will combine 1 teaspoon of Prague Powder No. 2, half a cup of pure sea salt, and 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. The brown sugar is not for sweetness. It balances the salt draw and helps the curing mixture penetrate deeper into the tissue. Mix these 3 ingredients thoroughly in a bowl until they are fully combined. Third, apply the curing mixture to your meat. You need to cover every single surface, every edge, every fold, every side. If any part of the meat surface is not covered, that is where spoilage will begin. Be thorough. Use all of the mixture. Press it into the meat with your hands. Fourth, wrap the meat tightly. Use cheesecloth, butcher paper, or both. You want the wrapping tight enough that the curing mixture stays in contact with the meat surface throughout the entire process. Fifth, place the wrapped meat in a cool, dark location. A basement is perfect. A garage in winter works. A root cellar is ideal. You are looking for a temperature between 36 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit consistently. Sixth, leave it completely undisturbed for a minimum of 7 days per inch of thickness. A 3-inch thick cut needs 21 days minimum. A 5-inch cut needs 35 days. Do not rush this. The curing process is working at a microscopic level and it cannot be accelerated. After the curing period is complete, your meat is preserved. It will stay safe and edible at room temperature in a cool, dark space for up to 6 months. No refrigerator, no electricity, nothing. The total cost to cure 5 pounds of meat using this method is under $3. Prague Powder No. 2 is available on Amazon right now for $3 a bag. That one bag will cure over 100 pounds of meat. Pure sea salt costs $2 at any grocery store. Cheesecloth costs $4 at Walmart. One single purchase of these 3 items gives you the ability to preserve hundreds of pounds of food with 0 ongoing cost and 0 dependency on any electrical system. This is why the industry buried it. But curing salt is only the beginning. Because the same families who used Prague Powder No. 2 also used a second preservation method that is even older, even simpler, and works on foods that curing salt cannot touch. It is called dry salt packing, and it works on vegetables, fruits, grains, eggs, and dairy in ways that no modern preservation method can match for cost and simplicity. The principle is identical. Salt removes moisture. Without moisture, bacteria cannot grow. Without bacteria, food does not spoil. Here is how dry salt packing works for vegetables. Take any vegetable you want to preserve. Green beans, carrots, cabbage, peppers, zucchini. Slice or chop them into pieces. Layer them in a clean glass jar or ceramic crock, alternating between a layer of vegetables and a thick layer of pure sea salt. Pack everything tightly. Seal the container. Store it in a cool, dark location. Your vegetables will stay preserved for up to 12 months. No canning equipment, no boiling water, no vacuum sealer, no electricity, just salt and time. For eggs, and this is the one that surprises people most, the method is called water glassing. You dissolve a solution of hydrated lime in clean water, also called pickling lime, available at any hardware store for $4, and you submerge fresh unwashed eggs completely in this solution inside a sealed bucket. Those eggs will remain completely fresh and edible for up to 18 months. 18 months, with no refrigeration. Farmers used this method for centuries to ensure egg supply through winter when hens stopped laying. The solution creates an airtight seal over the porous shell of the egg and prevents any air or bacteria from entering. It costs almost nothing. It works without question, and almost no one alive today knows it exists. For grains and dried goods, rice, flour, oats, lentils, dried beans, the preservation method is oxygen removal combined with dry storage. The enemy of stored grains is not bacteria. It is oxygen, moisture, and pests. Remove oxygen using food-grade oxygen absorbers, available on Amazon for $8 for a pack of $50. Seal your grains in Mylar bags and store them in food-grade buckets. Rice stored this way lasts 25 to 30 years. White flour lasts 10 years. Oats last 30 years. Lentils last 25 years. This is not an exaggeration. The U.S. military and FEMA both use this exact method for long-term food storage. The only difference is they have access to it and they have never once told the general public it is available to them too. Here is what a complete 6-month food preservation setup looks like for one family, using only these methods, with a total budget under $50. Prague Powder. No. 2 for 100 pounds of meat, $3. Pure sea salt for dry packing vegetables, $4. Cheesecloth and butcher paper, $4. Pickling lime for 18 months of egg preservation, $4. Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers for grain storage, $15. Food-grade 5-gallon buckets, $12. Total, under $50. And that $50 gives you the infrastructure to preserve food indefinitely, refilled only with ingredients that cost almost nothing, running on 0 electricity, dependent on no system, no subscription, no supply chain. This is complete food independence for the cost of a single grocery run. The reason this knowledge was removed from public consciousness is not complicated. The refrigerator industry needed you to buy refrigerators. The processed food industry needed you to buy processed food. The grocery supply chain needed you to keep coming back every week. None of those systems work if you know how to preserve 6 months of food in your own home for under $50. So they replace the knowledge with dependency. They replace self-sufficiency with convenience. And within 2 generations, the skills that every family used to take for granted became completely unknown to the general population. Your great-grandparents did not need a grocery store to survive winter. They did not need electricity to keep food safe. They did not need a supply chain that can collapse from a single storm, a single strike, or a single crisis. They had knowledge, real, practical, tested knowledge that worked for thousands of years before it was buried. Now you have it too. Prague Powder number 2. Dry salt packing, water glassing, oxygen removal, and mylar storage. 4 methods, under $50 total. 6 months to 30 years of food preservation. No electricity required, no dependency required, no permission required. This is the buried fix, and they don't want you to know any of it. If you want every method Marcus tests, the exact ingredients, the exact steps, the exact costs, subscribe and hit the bell right now, because everything on this channel works. It costs almost nothing, and it has been buried long enough.